The only thing we have to
Beer.
is
Beer.
itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Only no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Busters, where we are going to bring you the news and reviews of some wonderful brews. My name is Dan Baker, and now this is the part of the show normally where I would introduce my co-host and brewologist Steph Hefner and our third beer buster, Wayne Baker. And we had a guest today that was Jared Quigg, who's been my best friend for years. However, due to some unfortunate technical difficulties, when we recorded this episode, the beginning kind of sounded like a skipping CD when I went back to listen to it when I was editing it. So unfortunately, we lost out on the news segment this time around, and we'll have to cut into the middle of our interview with Jared. Now, it does cut into the middle of a conversation that we were having, so to set it up for you, Jared's been my best friend since about 5th grade. We went to a lake in Canada, in Ardoch, Ontario, for a fishing trip the one year, and we went into the local town, which was really just a post office, a beer distributor, and a grocery store, the, of course, necessities. And we went back to the cabin with a case of beer. We came back with Wildcat beer, and somewhere
sounds delicious.
Somewhere on the interwebs, somewhere on the interwebs, there's a video of me drinking that, and it was before I really liked beer, but I figured I'm of legal drinking age in this country I'm currently in. Why not do it? So it was me chasing a Wildcat beer, which is more or less the equivalent of Natty Ice, with the little Hugs drinks, the ones that you give kids.
Oh, wow. The little, barrels? Plastic. Oh, wow.
I believe Dan used one of the grape ones to chase it.
It was, yeah. And it was, I would take the swig of beer and I would chase it with the Huggy right away. And Jared just decided to film me, so I started explaining that, I haven't seen this video in like 4 or 5 years at least, but I reported and I said that it numbs the pain of beer, to which Jared said there's no pain in beer. And I said, well, if you're me and you don't like beer, there's pain involved.
Yes.
So that was the original episode of Beer Busters?
I guess, yeah, it could have been.
I guess true.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that was what, 05?
04, 05.
Yeah,
one
somewhere
of those
around.
summers.
Oh my God. Yeah, but somewhere that video is online, and I will be the first person to embarrass myself that if I find it, I will. If you want to do it, Wayne, we can put it up on the site.
We'll find it. Is it on YouTube? Do you have any ideas?
I think it might have honestly been on my MySpace.
Wow. So
Wait,
it's
MySpace?
Yeah, it still exists.
Yeah, it does. In fact,
Does
there's
anyone
plenty of commercials
remember
for
their
it.
MySpace passwords?
Nope.
I never had a MySpace.
No, it's probably the same that I use for everything else. I just got to remember the email address that
We
I
had a
used.
MySpace account for one of the bands I used to play in.
Yeah.
A long time ago. And just a few months ago, I was digging around online to try and find like old remnants of stuff that we posted that was still there. And the page was still there, and it had basically been hijacked by people just posting advertisements for shows. So like all the comments are like flyers for shows at all these different
That's
other
all it
bands.
ever turned into.
That's what. It's
Yeah,
kind of funny.
It's like, oh, you in your profile say you like this. My band is just like them, and I get the MySpace was awesome for music, but it turned into that.
Well, we'll find it and we'll get it on YouTube because if it exists, it needs to be on YouTube.
Yeah, of course it does. We'll leave it. Why not create a Beer Busters channel then? This can be our first Beer Busters
There you
YouTube
go.
video.
There you go.
Oh, we're invading the internet.
Yes, we are.
Cool. Now, Jared, obviously, like I said, you're the one that got me into beer. You got me hooked on Guinness. I think it was that same trip.
Actually, I mean, Dan to get into beer, I took notice he was drinking a lot like the lighter stuff, like something like your Bud Light or your cheaper American beer. And I was like, Dan, if you're gonna get into beer, you gotta start by drinking something good because then you're going to appreciate it. So
Right.
I got him hooked on the Guinness Extra Stout.
Yeah, and it's still a love affair that goes to this day.
It was a few steps up from Wildcat.
It is, yeah.
And Little Hugs.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the Little Hug tasted better than the Wildcat.
It
for sure.
did.
We used to get those at Little League.
Yeah.
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 The foil caps. And I wonder if they still make those.
They do. I saw them at a grocery
Really?
store not too long ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, as far as any beer goes recently, what's something that you had that stood out in your mind?
Lately, my beer palate changes, with the season.
Yeah.
The winter you went to heavy beer. Lately, a lot of what I've been buying has been the Leinenkugel Summer Shandy.
I actually really like that.
I've had that. It was all right.
Yeah, it's readily available, but and I know, Steph, you're shaking your head.
Steph doesn't
Oh,
like
and
it.
It tastes like lemonade.
That's
it
the thing, though.
taste like beer.
That's the thing. It has that lemonade taste, so it's kind of refreshing on the hot summer day. And then
unlike
it's got,
Iron Maiden's Trooper Ale, it is not a subtle hint of lemon.
right. This is an overpowering. It's a plethora of lemons.
It's one of those beers I drink. I had one and it was all right, but it's not a beer I think I would go back for another for a second.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just kind of the one refreshing one, and then you move on to something that might be a little heavier, a little hoppier.
Yeah.
But it's a good one. We were at a party that you brought a case of beer to. It was a Mexican beer, right?
Pacifico.
Yeah, that was pretty good. It was
Yes,
it was light, and it was like it wasn't an overpowering bitterness.
Right. I mean, after you drank it, it had a really a deep-bodied taste. To it.
Right.
Yeah, I've never had that. I've seen it, but I've never.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I have to say, I was out at a bar the other night, and I had a beer that was one of the best beers I've ever had in my life. And I don't go on our Untapped account to check in my own personal beers much, but this one needed to be shared. I checked in from Southern Tier a creme brulee beer.
Oh, I saw that on the.
amazing.
It
Untapped.
was
I've had
so
Really?
good.
It's a great beer.
It's really sweet, though, so it's not something you can say is a session beer, but you'll have one and you'll just appreciate it. You don't chug it, you don't drink it quick, you sip it, and you get that flavor. The only thing, though, is I felt like I had diabetes while I was drinking it. It's that
Is it
sweet.
really
It
that
is
sweet?
very sweet.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
tough to get. It's tough to find a beer that sweet that's good. That's
And
not,
this
like,
was
too
phenomenal.
sweet. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah, I'll have to
gush
try that.
about beers much because I've tried so many of them, but this is one that I need to find again.
Creme brulee by
Yeah,
what was it?
Southern
Tier.
Tier.
Southern Tier.
And I've had their IPAs before and a few others. Total Wine, I just pick them up as I go. But that was the first time I'd ever even heard of that, and I'm so glad that I did.
You know, it's funny that you had checked in one of your personal beers because I actually did the same thing this weekend. These past couple days, we were down in the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area, and we went to this awesome beer bar in Norfolk called The Birch. Really, really cool place. And I had Mango Magnifico by Founders Brewing Company. And it's actually a beer that I've been searching out for because I read about it. It is a beer made with mangoes and habaneros. And it was
combo.
amazing.
Oh,
now, they
that
didn't have it
sounds
on
good.
tap. I bought it in a bottle and I shared it with the people that I was drinking with. But it was amazing. I wish it would have been a little sweeter, but man, they had the flavor spot on. I even tweeted Founders and thanked them for making the beer. And I don't do that very often.
Yep.
I did. I saw that tweet. Yep.
It was really good. So there's another one. You start with the Mango Magnifico and then have creme brulee for dessert, I suppose.
Yeah, it was such a good beer. I'm going to keep gushing about that for a long time. So if you happen to talk to me soon, I'm probably going to tell you to try that beer again. Well, Jared, I thank you for coming on. It's really cool to have you here, and I'm glad you can be involved in this.
Yeah,
And,
no, thank you guys for having me.
Hey, anytime. Now, I want to kind of keep going. Our last episode had run a little bit longer. I want to try to keep this in a timely manner. So, without further ado, Wayne, what do we have today?
Well, what time is it, boys and girls? It's happy fun time. That's right. It's time to come on, get happy, and go play, have fun. We return today to a game we've played previously in which I deviously attempt deception and test my co-host's perception of some dubious contentions. With righteous tenacity, they'll judge my veracity, a continuation of the beerducation of the Beer Buster Nation. It's time to play Libation or Fabrication.
Oh, man.
Part 2. And here's how it works in case you missed the last one. Anyone who's delved into the world of craft beer will know that there's some strange, humorous, and outright absurd beer names out there. And I've scoured the interwebs to find some of the oddest, and I've also invented a few of my own. Your mission will be to tell the difference. Dan, Steph, and our guest Jared will go head to head as I list the names and descriptions of myriad brews, and they try to determine which are real libations and which are my own fabrications. So can they root out the truth and tell when I toss out some falsehoods? Let's find out. So we're going to alternate who goes first. We're going to start with Dan going first, and we'll go around. Now, you just got to tell me, is this a real beer or is this a fake beer?
All right, what do we got?
Alrighty, so number 1, the first beer, is this real or is it fake? It's called Ode to My Dead Dog Jim.
Ode to My Dead Dog Jim.
Yes, Dan, do you think that's real or fake?
That has to be real.
That has to be real. Steph, what do you say?
I'll say it's real also.
You'll say it's real as well. Jared, do you think that's real?
I'll say it's fake.
You'll say it's fake. Good strategy, because it is indeed fake. I made that up. It's not a
nice.
beer, and I have never had a dog named Jim.
So we had Brandy
Now, when
back
you
in the
brew
day.
that, did he put the dog in the pot?
He had the dog cremated, and then the ash.
No, it's like that episode of The Simpsons where they're brewing Duff and they have dogs swimming around in the tanks. And they take a sip and they go, needs more dog.
Needs more.
OMG.
Needs more dog. Okay, moving right along after that morbid little tangent. Steph's going to go first on this one, and this beer is called Spleen Cleaver. Spleen Cleaver. Do you think that's a real beer or is that fake?
Real.
You think that's real. Jared, do you think that's real?
I'll say real.
You'll say real. Dan, what do you think?
I will go real as well.
Everybody's going real, and everybody is correct. That is by Tommy Knocker Brewery in Colorado. It is a 8.5% Scotch ale that may or may not cleave your spleen. Jared goes next on this one. Is this thing on? Jared's up first on this one, and this next beer is a favorite of mine, Piston Honda.
Piston Honda.
Piston Honda. Piston Honda. Anybody?
Well, I don't know of any towns named Honda, so.
Okay. You think it's real?
I'm
or
gonna
fake?
go fake.
You're gonna go fake, Dan. What do you say?
I'm going to go fake as well.
You're gonna go fake, Steph.
Yeah, I'll say fake too.
You all say fake, and you were all incorrect.
Oh.
Piston Honda is a real
Wow.
beer. Piston Honda. No. It's released in 2009 by Dogfish Head as a brew pub exclusive.
Oh, Dogfish Head, huh,
I didn't
Steph?
have
Yeah.
that one.
Here's a hint: if you see this beer twitch its eyebrows, you better duck.
Ah.
Nah, nobody ever played Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Piston Honda was one of the characters.
Was
in Mike
it
Tyson's
really?
He was the
Oh,
Japanese
no,
guy.
no.
Yes, and appropriately, the beer was brewed with the Japanese hop Sriracha Ace. Piston
right.
Honda. Piston. I'm so disappointed.
Sorry.
I'm so disappointed. Nintendo reference and nobody got it. All right, Dan's going to go first on this next one. And this next one, I hope you get the reference on this one. Groucho Man Randy Beverage.
That's real.
That's real. Okay, Dan says that's real. Steph, what do you say?
I don't know. I'm going to say that's fake.
You're going to say that's fake. Jared, what do you think?
I'll say real.
You'll say real. Dan and Jared are correct. That is real.
I've
Groucho
seen
Man,
that before.
Randy. Ooh,
I forget where I saw, but
Snap into my beer.
I was searching for something online and I came across it and I really, really, really wanted to get a bottle. I never did.
No, yeah, I think it may have been a one-off kind of thing. It's a German-style Rausch beer brewed by Against the Grain Brewery in Louisville, Kentucky.
That's right.
Groucho Man Randy
That's
Beverage. I like that one.
Wow.
Okay, moving right along, and Steph's up to bat first on this one. And this next beer is called Yeastiality. Yeastiality.
I'll say that's real.
You'll say that's real, Jared. Do you think
I'm
that's
going to
real?
say fake.
You're going to say fake. Dan, what are you going to say?
Yeastiality, I'm going real.
You're going real, and Jared is correct. It's fake. I made that up. It is not a beer. However, the Urban Dictionary defines the term yeastiality as the act in which an individual makes love with leavened culinary creations such as cake. So, not a beer, but a fetish.
Nice.
So let's see who's up next. Jared's up next first on this one, and this one is called This One Goes to 11 Ale. This one goes to 11 Ale. Is that a real beer or is that fake?
I'll say fake.
You'll say fake. Dan, what do you think?
I'm going real.
You're going real? All right. And Steph, what do you think?
I will say real
Does it
as
go to
well.
11? You will say real. Steph and Dan are correct. That is a real beer, and that is a beer. It's an Imperial Red brewed by Bell's in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Now, we met Laura Bell
Oh, yeah,
from
we
Bell's.
did. She was really cool.
Yeah, and I've recently really got into their Oberon. They have it at the
That's
bar
an
down the street from me.
amazing
Yeah,
beer.
it's a good summer beer.
There you go. Drink that instead of summer shandy, Jared. Okay. Oberon is
try.
awesome.
Give it a try. But this one goes to 11 Ale. Was brewed in September 2012 to commemorate their 11,000th batch of beer. It's a limited single batch. It was 11% APV. This one goes to 11 Ale. All right, moving right along, and Dan will be our first one on this. Dan, Pestilence Pale Ale.
Pestilence
Pale Ale.
I'm going real.
You're going real on that one, Steph. Pestilence Pale Ale. Is that a real beer? Is that a fake
I'll say
beer?
real also.
You'll say real also?
I'm going to have to say real, too.
Everybody's going real, and everybody's incorrect. That is not a real beer. I made that up with my own brain. There's no such thing as, but there is Rivertown Pestilence Hibiscus Sour Brown Ale.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Is a real beer by Rivertown Brewery in Ohio, but my version, of course, is much cooler.
I don't know.
let's
Yours
see.
doesn't have hibiscus in it.
No, but it sounds better. The next one, and standards and practices may want to jump in here, but this one steps up first. So this is called Fisted Anus.
I hope that's real because I hope you didn't come up with that on your own.
That's gonna say that's real. Jared, is Fisted Anus real or fake?
I got to go real.
You're gonna go real, Dan. What do you think? Fisted Anus. I'm gonna say it as many times
So
as I possibly can.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Do you go into a bar, bartender looks at you and goes, "What do you want?" He says, "I want a fisted anus."
It's like when they used to do that old bit on The Simpsons where they'd call the bar.
Oh my God. I need this to be real.
You need this to be
I
real.
need it to be
Everybody
real.
says real, and everybody is in fact correct.
Oh
That
my
is
God.
real. Fisted Anus is an American dark wheat ale from Speakeasy Ales and Lagers.
Oh,
yes,
I love that place.
You were there when you went to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in appropriately where you would find fisted anuses. San Francisco.
We're drinking one of their beers today, actually.
We will actually be tasting one of their beers. Another little spoiler alert there. So Steph was there. Speakeasy Ales and Lagers. One more time. Fisted anus. Okay, and our last beer on the board, and Jared's up first on this one, and this one is called Blood of the Unicorn.
Real.
That's real? All right, Dan, what do you say? Blood of the Unicorn.
I feel like I've seen that before. I'm going real.
Okay, you're going to say real. Steph, what do you say?
Real.
Steph's going to say real as well. Everybody is correct on that one as well. Blood of the Unicorn is real. It's by Pipeworks Brewing Company in Chicago, Illinois. It's an 8.5% American Amber. And speaking of American Ambers, in a little bit, Steph's going to be beer-educating us about American Ambers in our next segment. So, yeah, that's the last beer. Let me, real quick, just add up the points here while I think and
click your pen.
I was just going to say, I click my pen, which I'm not supposed to do because it makes noise.
It's a nervous habit, and I'm finding myself struggling not to do it.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, it looks like everybody's pretty close, but Jared, our guest, is our winner. Jared had 6 points. Dan was in second with 5 points. And Steph was in last place with 4 points. Everybody's pretty close, though, 4, 5, and 6. So Jared is our winner on Libation or Fabrication Part 2.
All right.
And that's going to do it. Now, real quick, I thought it would be nice of me, before we finish up here, I do want to give a little shout-out to the breweries that brewed the real beers that we mentioned in this game, and I thought I'd just tell you a little bit about their website and stuff. So Spleen Cleaver, which was by Tommy Knocker. You can check out Tommy Knocker at tommyknocker.com. They're in Idaho Springs, Colorado. Dogfish Head, one of my favorite breweries, with Piston Honda, the name that nobody got the reference, is dogfish.com, and they're in Milton, Delaware. Against the Grain Brewery, which had that awesome Groucho Man Randy beverage, is at atgbrewery.com, and they're in Louisville, Kentucky. Bell's, another great one, this one goes to 11 Ale, and they're at bellsbeer.com, and that from Kalamazoo, Michigan. Speakeasy Ales and Lagers, which is in San Francisco, as we mentioned, once again, Fisted Anus.
Yay.
Their website is appropriately just goodbeer.com.
That's
which is
a
pretty
good
awesome.
URL.
Yeah, I don't know how they managed to get that one. And finally, Pipeworks Brewing Company, which did Blood of the Unicorn, is at pipeworksbrewing.net, and they're in Chicago, Illinois. Yeah. So thanks, everybody, for playing.
Yeah,
and that'll do it for
you
today's
for
edition of
hosting
Happy
it.
Fun Time Games.
Yeah, so what do we have on tap next? Like you said, Wayne, we're going to get beer-educated.
Know your beers. So this episode's edition of Know Your Beers is all about the American Amber Ale. Known simply as red ales in some regions, these beers were popularized in Northern California and the Pacific Northwest areas before spreading nationwide. American Amber Ale has its origin in the earliest days of American craft beer. Brewers wanted to brew and market beers resembling the English-style bitter and pale ales. And some breweries did just that, bottling best bitters and ESBs. Others, without access to those traditional English ingredients, had to use American ingredients. Most consider the original American Amber Ale as a brewpub beer, since brewpubs wanted a simple lineup of gold, red, and black beers from their taps. Also, brewery and brewpub owners were worried about marketing beers with the word bitter in the name, thinking back to those TV commercials with the bitter beer face.
Bitter beer face. I remember those.
So the breweries...
Those were for what?
I was just going to say, what beer was that?
Was that
It was like Bud
Keystone
or
or
something.
Bud? Or
Was it Keystone?
Made it
Who
be
then went on to the even better marketing campaign of
Keystone.
Always smooth.
Yes, indeed.
So instead of bitter, the breweries marketed their red beers as amber. The brewery attributed with making the first commercially successful American Amber Ale is Mendocino Brewing Company from California. Their Red Tail Ale was called an American classic beer by writer Michael Jackson. So the aroma of an amber ale is usually a citrusy hop character with moderate maltiness balanced by the hops and usually shows a moderate caramel color. The appearance is amber, of course, to coppery brown with a large off-white head and good retention. And they're usually quite clear. Flavor, they have a moderate hop flavor from those American hop varieties, which often have a citrusy quality. Malt flavors are usually sweet, followed by a caramel flavor. Mouthfeel is usually medium to medium body, and there's moderate to high carbonation, but overall a smooth finish. Stronger versions may have a slight warming feeling from the alcohol. So overall, like an American Pale Ale with more body, more caramel richness, and a balance more towards malt than hops. Typical ABV is 4.5 to 6.2, and some commercial examples include North Coast Red Seal Ale, Trogue's Hopback Amber Ale.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
I think that's one we tried to. I think that's the one Colin got when he was here and we did the
Yes,
tasting
we
there.
did the taste. That's right. Yeah.
Pyramid Broken Rake, Anderson Valley Boont Amber Ale. I had to put Anderson Valley in there for your friend Maddie who loves Anderson Valley.
Oh, yeah.
Lagunita Censored Ale and Avery Red Point Ale. Oh, and Bell's does an amber as well. So I know
have to
Wayne,
try
you
that.
love their Oberon. Why not
yeah.
try out their
That
amber?
that Lagunitas, the one that they had, the censored. I just had that the other night. The same place I had
no
that
way.
creme brulee. Yeah, it was on special. It was pretty good. They called their copper ale, and it had that kind of. It doesn't sound good, but it had a coppery taste to it. But it was good. I liked it a lot.
You know, speaking of, that reminds me of a beer I had recently was Dogfish Head's 61, which
Yeah.
is with raspberry. And
That was really good.
I actually found that I didn't quite like it. And it's the only
wow.
Dogfish Head beer I've ever had that I didn't quite like. And it had, to me, a really strong coppery aftertaste that I didn't like. And I think that's what did it. Now, I did have it. I had just eaten some sort of spicy food. And I don't know if that sort of, affected my
could be,
palate
yeah.
somehow. But when you mentioned that, it just made me think that was the only Dogfish Head beer I've had that I didn't particularly like.
Yeah, and not to get too much on a tangent, but speaking of Dogfish Head, I was all proud the other night. I got to actually hold a bottle of 120-minute IPA. I've never had it.
Never had it?
No, and I really want to try it. The place I was at, they're going to be tapping a keg of it soon, and it's a place that their prices are pretty reasonable, but it was $18 for this one bottle of beer, a 12-ounce bottle, and it's ridiculous, but it's apparently worth it. Cases of the beer are over like $150.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I've had it, and I had it at the place where Steph's Home Brews Club meets, Canal Street.
Yeah.
They have it there. They had it there when I was there one time, and they serve it to you in this little goblet. You know, it's a very small glass.
Yeah, because it packs that much of a punch.
It's strong.
I
very
bought
good.
a bottle last year, but I couldn't drink it myself. I actually shared it with a couple friends.
Wow.
It was
it's not something you can really
it's
throw back
intense.
pretty easily.
And I don't think there's 61's raspberry. I believe that's grape must
Yeah,
that they use.
you're
in
right.
that.
You're
Yeah.
right. You're right.
Yep.
So
yeah.
that could have given you that.
Yeah, I didn't. I
coppery
just
taste.
wasn't. I did recently have their India. To go on a tangent here for a little bit. Their India brown ale. I just had for the first time.
That's one of my favorite
and
beers
That
ever.
was delicious.
That,
I
yeah,
love that
really
beer.
good.
I think I have had that once. That was really good.
Okay,
really good.
All this talk of beer is making me want to drink some beer.
So let's get into tasting
Yep.
some beers.
Beer me! Beer me! Beer me! Beer me!
All right. So now, what are we doing first here? Is this one gonna be the
Well, of course, we have to start with a red ale.
Red ale,
This
that's
is
right.
the Riptide Red
Riptide
Ale,
Red, that's
which is
right.
by Beach Chalet Brewery and Restaurants,
there it is.
which I got to visit when we were out in San Francisco. This is a 5.6% rich amber ale, medium-bodied and smooth, with
Smells
caramel
very
and
good.
toffee notes,
You know what, can
enhanced
I-
by the fruity tones of the yeast.
You're saying smooth like that twice now. I would just like to point out that in the past several episodes, I did not mention that word first. It was you guys.
No, yeah,
Boom.
we've been saying it for you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Oh, and if anybody follows our Facebook page, we recently posted a link to that beer flavor wheel that we talked
That's
about
right,
with Colin, so that Dan could use more words than smooth. But yeah, it's actually pretty interesting. There's tons of words on there. It's something you might want to take a look at. Yeah, so check out our Facebook page and you can find it.
So Beach Chalet Brewery and Restaurant is located in San Francisco's Golden Gate Park, right where the park meets the Pacific Ocean. And the brew pub offers spectacular ocean views. Of course, when I was there, I sat facing the brewing equipment with my back to the ocean because I'm more interested in that.
That's a
And I
better
got
view.
to meet brewmaster Aaron when I was there. He's a really, really cool guy. And I picked up this bottle to bring with. So a red ale is predominantly American-style ale, originated from the amber ales of Germany. And this particular one uses a little more caramel malt and crystal malt to increase the malt sweetness and enhance the red and amber color.
It does have a very good caramel.
Yeah.
sweetness to
you
it.
get that.
You take a waff of it and you smell a sweetness to
Yeah,
it.
yeah. It kind of reminds me of when I drink it. It tastes like a beery Heath bar or something. And it's and I'm really happy about that because that's one of my favorite candy bars.
Yeah, I get the caramel and the toffee, but I think those floral hops really balance it nicely, so I'm not getting that sickening sweet in the back of my throat.
Yeah. This
It's
is
nice.
This is really good. I really like. You do get that toffee and that caramel. Like you said, their sweetness is there, but it's not too much.
It's a little toasty too.
It is. This would
Even-
be a good like after a meal. This would be a nice beer to finish off.
I get a little bit of chocolate too. I mean, I know that's obviously from the
Slight,
malt,
yeah.
but there's a slight hint of chocolate
right
as
in
well.
the end there. Yeah, yeah. This is really good.
I like it. I
really,
like it a lot.
really like this a lot. And the color is great. I mean, amber ales, red ales.
Oh.
My
Can we look at the color? I think the rest of us, our glasses are empty
oh, I'm
already.
still drinking mine. Everybody's chugging theirs.
Sorry, if you hand me
That
a
was
beer in a
good.
tasting glass, it's not going to be there much longer.
Especially when it's not good.
But I do think like the redder amber tones in beers are definitely my favorite
Yeah.
as far as to look at.
Oh, yeah.
Is anyone else getting like the dry aftertaste?
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
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 It's
With
actually
the
nice.
the lingering
Yeah.
maltiness. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, that's good. I really like that.
Yeah, that's really good. Now, is this available? This was from.
I actually bought that in the gift shop at the brewery. I've never seen their beers on the
I was
East
going to
Coast.
say, I
but
was wondering if this is anything we could get anywhere around here because this is really quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
a reason to visit San Francisco.
That's true. I'll have to remember that.
Most people go there to the restaurant, because of the views and because of where it's located. And I have to say, going in, I was like, oh, are their beers going to be any good? But I was pleasantly surprised by the beers I had and this one as well. So moving on, another place I visited while in San Francisco was the Rogue Ale House. So, of course, I had to bring the Rogue Beard beer home.
I like this for so many reasons.
Dan is the only one in the room who's allowed to drink this because he's the only one who has an actual beer.
It's all mine.
I will say, though, that the only reason I don't have a beer is because of my day job. I'm not allowed to.
Yeah.
Excuses. So this is a 5.6% American Wild Ale, and Beard beer is brewed with a yeast created from brewmaster John Mayer's beard, the same beard that he's had since 1983.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. So we had writer Michael Jackson. We have brewer John Mayer. I'm sorry.
And we had dogs in beer earlier. Now we have
Yes.
beard in beer.
Anyway, moving on. This is the same beer that he's had since 83 and for over 15,000 brews. So it makes perfect sense that they would turn it
Good
into
for
a
him.
yeast. So they sent a clipping of his beard to yeast supplier White Labs, and they were able to isolate and propagate a new viable yeast strain for brewing using his beard sample. I think they kind of sent it as a joke, and then something actually became.
Wow.
How does that work? Did he have like?
It tastes like his beard.
Well, there's wild yeast everywhere.
I was gonna say, so he had like yeast growing in his beard.
Well, I'm sure if he's had the same beard since
Yeah, well, I'm
1983
sure he
and he's
did.
been a brewer.
It's interesting, a little gross, but
Not at all. This is amazing.
oh no, I'm not saying the beer's gross. I'm
Right,
saying the
right.
story's a little.
It smells pretty nice. It kind of reminds me of a beard, I guess. Makes me happy I have one.
It's very tropical, like
It is.
banana,
Ooh.
citrus, pineapple, maybe
I
a
hope
little
my
passion
beard tastes
fruit.
like this.
Well,
I'm just fixated on. It's
Yeah, I
a
know.
really interesting.
It is. And I like that about
origin
Rogue.
story.
Rogue has really good names for their beer, and they also have some pretty cool stories with it. They do the Voodoo Maple Bacon Ale, teaming up with Voodoo Donuts, and that turned out pretty good. I mean, it's in a bright pink bottle, and I really like that beer.
they also have a banana peanut butter something one that I just saw.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be
Also
sold
in
on
the,
that.
Yeah, I
also
never
in the
tried
pink
that.
bottle.
Yeah. But I do like this beer. You're right, it is kind of tropical in
It's
flavor.
very tropical. Not as sour as I was expecting, but uber good.
It also does have a nice yellow color.
Yeah.
Yeah, the color is very nice.
Oh, sorry, I finished mine. I can't look at it.
Yeah.
I know. We should talk about what it looks like first
Yeah.
before we finish it.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm going to make a
just
point to
kidding.
do that on this next one, which is what the
This
Speakeasy
is
Scarface, right?
Speakeasy Scarface, yes. It's a 9.5 Imperial Stout. And Speakeasy Ales and Lagers, as Wayne mentioned, is in San Francisco, California. And their tap room is designed as a wood-paneled basement hideaway. They're located in the corner of the city once known as Butchertown. And their beers reference 1930s
Ooh, wow.
Prohibition-era mobsters and organized crime. Now, Speakeasy says, Scarface Imperial Stout is the perfect accomplice to a nefarious plot. Out of the cold, Black Night, a robust union of malts mercilessly imposes its monstrous presence upon those who dare to indulge.
Wow.
Sorry, I just couldn't put it in any other words than theirs. So
Are
I
we
just
saying
quoted them.
hello to a little friend?
Say hello to my little friend.
Oh, it's nice
This-
and dark and opaque. Look at, I
It is
love
really dark.
that creamy off-white head.
There is
Yeah.
no seeing through this.
The head is nice too.
Yeah,
It
the
is.
head
It's a
very
nice
color
tan
to
head
it.
that kind of complements it very well.
Wow, yeah. I mean, you hold that up to the light and no light comes through at all.
Yeah.
Okay,
is-
we talked about the
Ooh.
color. Now we can drink.
This is
Yeah,
the-
no.
this is an offer I can't refuse.
Yeah. Wait, wasn't that was Godfather?
Mobsters, Godfather.
Okay,
Saying
sorry.
it's all the
Ooh,
same.
Wow. Yeah,
It's-
that's good. That's good.
it's
It's like
dark.
a toastiness.
The
Yeah.
toasty, dark chocolate, little vanilla maybe.
Yeah.
Tiny bit, yeah.
I'm getting the burnt coffee.
Yeah, I can definitely get that.
Yeah, it definitely has like a toastiness and a coffeeness.
Yeah.
That's sort of
Another one
right
that
up front.
ends very dry though, even a little acidic. I like it.
Yeah, well, it has the citrus hops in there, so
Yeah.
some acidic content,
What's
right?
the ABV on this?
9.5.
9.5. Yeah. You know, it tastes like it's not one of those where it's like, oh, it doesn't taste like a 9.5. But it goes down pretty easily.
It
for a
does, yeah.
9.5.
Whereas if you have something that's kind of like Golden Monkey that sits around the same percentage, that is a 9% beer.
You know, I think this is a good companion with the first one, the Riptide.
Yeah.
They both have a good sweetness and a
Right,
sort of,
right.
Yeah, they both have that strong
like
malty
strong
finish.
malty.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a saccharin.
Definitely something Tony Montana would drink.
I think so.
While snorting lines of cocaine. Not that I condone that at all.
Moving on, the moment we've all been
I
waiting
am
for.
so excited for this.
As Dan decided to leave in the last episode, we found out that we were all very excited when we found out that one of our local beer stores, Mary's, had Woot Stout. So we picked up a bottle, and of course, we had to use it for this episode. Stone Farking Wheaten Woot Stout
Yes.
is a 13% ale
I'm so
brewed with
excited.
pecans, wheat, and rye, with 1 quarter aged in bourbon barrels. So, as most people probably already know, this is a collaboration beer brewed by Drew Curtis, the founder of Fark.com, Greg Cook, the CEO and co-founder of Stone Brewing Company, and, of course, Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
Actor, author, homebrewer, a Renaissance man of
Nerd.
sorts.
Not the flog.
Well, I think, does he go by nerd or geek? He's like the ultimate geek.
He goes by Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
So, you may ask, how did Will Wheaton come across Greg Cook? Their relationship began back in 2004 when he called and asked if he could use the Arrogant Bastard logo on his blog's website. And Greg happened to answer the phone when he called. A few months later, Greg reached out to their 10,000th email newsletter subscriber, who just happened to be
Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton. So after sharing brews for many years, Greg and Will decided that it was finally time for a collaboration brew, and Woot Stout was born. It's an imperial stout made with wheat, of course, with rye and pecans, and partially aged in bourbon barrels to pay tribute to Drew's Kentucky roots. They released 3 bottles with various artwork labels. Wayne, I thought you would be interested in this. The first design, which we have, is the Classic Stone 2013 collaboration bottle designed featuring an intricate hop vine crest with hop cones.
I really like this. I like Stone in general, how they do like the line art and leave the rest of it transparent, where like the color of the bottle becomes part of the art.
Right.
I really like Stone's bottles, and this is no exception.
The second one is called their Hero Bottle, which illustrates the trio as superheroes, complete with capes, masks, and a gargoyle emblem on the chest of Cook's outfit.
I need to find that.
Find that
Yes.
bottle.
Now, just wait. The final one
Oh,
is
boy.
a comic bottle,
I
and
need
it
all of
includes
these.
artwork by internet comic artist Joel Watson of Hijinks Ensue, in which each collaborator offers one of the key ingredients for the beer: Curtis's pecans, Wheaton's wheat, and Cook's hops. So the beer debuted on Wednesday, July 17th at the newly opened Stone Brewing World Bistro and Gardens in San Diego during an event called HopCon, the Woot
for
Stout
everything.
launch festival. The festivities included a sermon by Greg Cook, a performance by Will Wheaton, and 10 minutes of Drew Curtis doing whatever he wanted on
What
stage.
did Will Wheaton perform?
I
He
don't
just
know.
stood there and said his name.
That's okay.
That's what he did.
I would pay to see that.
He stood there with his chin up and had everybody look at his beard.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that clip? Speaking of Will Wheaton, we're going to gush over Will Wheaton more than the beer, I think.
I haven't even taken a sip yet.
Oh,
It's delicious.
so
I have.
good.
But real quick, that
It's so
clip.
good.
There was a clip on YouTube, or it was on. There's a website that specializes in posting videos and stories that are like inspirational or like cool stuff. One of
think
them
I know
was
where you're
Patrick
going.
Stewart, who was giving a talk about domestic violence, and he gave this like
Right.
really sort of inspirational. Well, Will Wheaton did this thing. This girl got up and asked, I guess she was pregnant. She was about to. She
This
said,
was
what
a
message
great
would you
video.
give to my daughter? And Will Wheaton goes on. It's like 5-minute long thing
Yeah.
about how do what you want to do, be what you want to be.
Yeah.
For he starts at hi, welcome to the world. He's like he's like, I don't know how you're going to communicate when you're my age, but this and that. It's really, really good. I think you should look it up.
He hits the nail on the head with that speech, and he's like, somebody throughout your life is going to tell you that you're not supposed to like what you like, but don't listen to them because that's what makes you a person. Your passion for that topic.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to like baseball, you want to like volleyball, you want to like Star Trek, like it, and don't let anybody tell you not to. And it was so inspirational and amazing, and I put it on my personal Facebook, and I'll dig it up to see if we can put it on our Facebook.
Yeah, we'll reshare that.
Yeah, it was such a great video.
Yeah, I saw it from you had posted it, another friend of mine had posted it. It was all over for a little while. It was really good. Really good. Anyway, speaking of the beer.
Yes, now we can,
Speaking of really good.
This is another really
delicious.
dark one.
You
really
know, this
dark.
kind of reminds me of, you remember those old like root beer barrel hard candies you used to
Yes.
get? It has a little bit of that taste to it. It reminds me of that.
I just keep smelling it. I
Yeah.
don't know.
And every
Oh
sip
my
is
God,
a little
good.
bit different.
Oh my God.
Mhm.
At
Yeah, in
first, I
fact,
was getting the pecans a lot, and then I was getting more of like a coffee and chocolate vanilla, and then I'm getting a little more of the bourbon as it warms up a little bit in the glass.
Yeah,
I mean,
that is
it's
interesting.
so complex.
It does kind of, it changes. It is really complex, and every sip you pick out something different.
And I think it was smart to only barrel age part of the
Rather than all of it.
Instead of
They
all
did
of
like
it.
a quarter of it, was it?
Yeah, a quarter. That's
Mhm.
really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that's not a common thing, is that? I mean, I've never heard of a beer that only barrel aged part of it. But yeah, this is.
And
delicious.
Mitch Steele says that this may be the highest ABV brew that they've ever done, which would be fitting because it's Will Wheaton.
So it's what, 13?
It's 13%. Yeah, it's a strong one, but it is really good.
It is really, really, really good.
I'm getting the rye now too as I take another sip.
So Dan, it looks like your glass is already empty. Would you like some more?
Make it so.
I will.
You must have liked the 4 I picked out today. You were
These were
really
all very
into them.
good.
I can't pick a favorite.
They're all good for so many different reasons.
I mean, I want. Obviously, the Will Wheaton one, Will Wheaton one is phenomenal, but they're all amazing. They're not overpowering. I could see myself having a bunch of these. They could individually be session beers, even the stouts that are here, and you go
wait,
from.
wait. Did you just call 13% beer a session beer?
It doesn't feel like that heavy of a beer.
No, it doesn't feel like 13%.
It doesn't feel like a session
I
beer.
don't know
but-
if it feels like 4.3, but
Yeah, but it's tough for me to figure out which one I like the best. I mean, the Riptide was great because it had that caramel toffee flavor to it. The Rogue one was made from a beard. The the Scarface one was a really good dark imperial
these
stout,
were all very,
and then
very good
and then
beers
Woot
today.
Stout just rounds it out so perfectly. Like honestly, I might say for the Will Wheaton one that this is going to be the beer that I'm going to gush about more than creme brulee. So I'm sorry, Southern Tier. Still a great beer, but
that's a big statement.
Will Wheaton.
Well, you knew going into this that the three of us would love this beer just because it's Will Wheaton, but I'm glad that it stands up to the hype, that it is truly an awesome beer.
And I have to say that Will Wheaton is my ultimate interview for this show.
Yeah, that's our goal. Yeah, we've talked
And
about this before.
We have, and I'm throwing it out there. That way, it's officially recorded and it's going to be distributed online.
If anybody knows somebody or knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows Will Wheaton, just tell them, give Beer Busters a listen.
we will fly out to California
Yeah,
if we
hitchhike
have
to
to.
California.
yeah. Oh, this is
Just to meet him.
Yes, absolutely.
So I've proclaimed what I would probably assume is my favorite for the day. So how about anybody else? What do we got?
Well, I'm going to say the Woot Stout is definitely my favorite. It's the most complex, also the strongest of these beers. But I really, really did like the Riptide Red Ale as well. That was really good. I mean, all the beers today were great, but I'd have to say those two would be my favorite.
Yeah, I would have to pick the Woot Stout also. I like you said, I love the complexity. I love a beer where every sip I take
Is this going to be another top shelf blog post?
Oh,
I think it could
man,
It
could be.
I think it's worthy.
And it's been
Is
a while
this a
since we've done that.
beergasm?
Yeah, we haven't done it
Yeah.
since the Voodoo.
Yeah, and that Voodoo one was phenomenal.
Oh, that was
too.
delicious.
So Jared, what's your favorite?
Well, the Woot Stout, setting that aside, if I had to pick the other three, I am more of a dark beer guy, so I mean, the Speakeasy Scarface was delicious
Yeah,
for
that
me.
was a great beer.
That was a good one. Yeah. They were all really good today.
Wow,
It was
good
nice
choice.
to relive my travels through our tasting
You
today
feel like
as
you're
well.
back in San Francisco.
Yeah, back in
that's-
California.
That was. These were all very,
Are you
very, very good choices.
Going back to Cali.
Yeah, I'm hoping to. Rich and I were talking about our 10-year anniversary is coming up in 2 years, and we'd love to go to Hawaii. And conveniently, we could have our layover in San Diego.
And spend it, sometime there.
Because unfortunately, last time I was in San Diego, the day we were supposed to go to Stone, I actually got sick. so I never got to go. So I have the growler, but I never actually got
If
to
you
go to
do
the
go
brewery.
there, we were down in Ocean City, Maryland, not too long ago, and there I had a longboard lager. And it's
By Kona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Kona
if you're
Brewing
there,
Company.
I'm sure you've had it.
Yeah. Well, I
But
have
it was-
had, yes, but to have it at the brewery
Yeah,
would be
it
amazing.
would be
Yeah,
amazing.
that brings a special level to it. And kind of like when I, for instance, when I went out to Seattle and I was at Red Hook, I've had Red Hook beers before, but there was an extra kind of sensation that came with having it at its source.
Yeah, when
You know,
you're drinking it and watching where it was produced,
made,
there's
yeah.
something special about
And
that.
there's something to be said about, that sort of thing, the context, the presentation of a beer. Like the smell, the taste, the look is all one thing, but, where you're drinking it, how you're drinking it, when you're drinking it has a lot to do with it, too.
Right. Yeah, it brings about the atmosphere to it, more or less.
That je ne sais quoi.
Yes.
Je ne sais quoi.
Forms a certain essence.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good. I like it.
We all sound really pretentious right
We
now.
really do. Well, let's not forget that all the beers that we have will be featured on our Beer Busters podcast Untapped page. It's just Beer Busters on there. If you're looking to reach out to us any other way, we have our Facebook. It's facebook.com/BeerBustersPodcast. We have Twitter and Instagram, which are at Beer Busters. We also have Google+, but they don't give you a vanity URL, so just search for Beer Busters. We're there. We will add you to our circle. And, of course, all this will be referenced and linked on BeerBustersPodcast.com, where we're going to feature updated blogs, new brew review. We have the top shelf blog that we're going to do again. I've got the foreign beer segment on there. I'm going to start doing a budget beer, too. That way, whenever I go to Total Wine, I look for bottles that are roughly $2 or less. I consider that a budget beer. But there's a lot to come. We will soon, as we've discovered this episode, have our own YouTube page once I get my embarrassing video.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's easy to set up. We can definitely do that.
yeah, it really is. And of course, I do want to give a special thanks to our friend Jared Quigg. Jared, thank you for coming today.
Oh, again, thanks for having me.
Yeah. But this, my friends, it does unfortunately bring us to the end of another episode of Beer Busters. And it was the great Jack Nicholson who said, as simplistic as a man he is, beer, it's the best damn drink in the world. I really can't argue with that.
That's a great quote.
So for those of us here at Beer Busters today, we would love to thank you for coming along. I am Dan Baker, joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and our fermentertainer.
Wayne Baker.
And again, Jared Quigg, thank you. Can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
Thank you for getting me into beer also.
No worries.
So until next time, my friends, I bid you adieu.
Hasta la vista.